All right. So, Luther, thank you so much for being our facilitator today. There's so much that you want to share with us, and I'm really excited about the insights that you'll be sharing with us today. So, Luther, the floor is to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Safa. Just a quick rundown. After 35 years in corporate, covering all facets of HR and training, and then went over to public relations and ended off with organization and work study, which is also internal consulting in governmental organizations. And then 2005, I said, it's time for me to change the world. And I established the SA Business Hub, unleashing South Africa's entrepreneurial revolution, making a change. Because I believe in entrepreneurship can eradicate poverty. And I've been working on the model, and SA Business Hub is coming of age this year, 21 years, and we've got the model. Now, just finding the recipe to actually roll it out. The first lesson I learned was that poverty is rife in South Africa, and we need to sponsor many to be able to participate in the training and development. And that's why I established the Hope Initiative. The Hope is Afrikaans, a native language in South Africa, which means hope. And the initiative is bringing hope to South Africa through entrepreneurship. And the last lesson I learned was there must be an entrepreneurial ecosystem. So what I am doing is building entrepreneurship and then also building the ecosystem and then helping South Africa grow, finding sustainable model, which we can then migrate to the rest of the world. Today I'm going to share with you my journey about the book I wrote, Be Triumphant, Master the Triangle for Success. But where did it all start? Or, I think most important, what is my present vision for the next 10 years? We'll just see if I can advance the slide.
Are you sharing your slides? Because I can't see them.
Yes,
it says, my screen sharing has been paused.
I don't see your slides.
I don't know.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Strange.
But you see them, Louis?
Yeah.
I had seen them, and now it's paused. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just the first.
Let me stop share and reshare.
Okay.
Let's see if it works.
Luther was frozen for quite a bit there. I don't know if you got a bad connection, Luther.
Yes, I saw something that we have a bad connection at the moment. Seems like we've got stormy weather, and seems like it's impacting on. Does it share now?
Yes. Yeah, all good now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Now it's most likely will advance as well. I coined what I call my 1M 10K initiative. Over the next 10 years, I would want to establish and support 1 million new businesses in South Africa. And to help me do that, I need to train 10,000 business developers. Once we have 10,000 business developers, we just need each to start one new business per month. To be 10,000 per month, 100,000 per year, 1 million in 10 years. That is my vision. There's a saying, the bigger your vision of the future, the more energy you can muster in present. I would suggest, so far it's possible, we just have a quick breakout so people can share with each other, introduce each other if they do not know each other, and then share their big goal. And after 10 minutes, we can just come back so we can just hear of the audience what is their big goal they intend doing.
Big goals. Like how big?
Yes.
How
Yeah,
big?
like my goal is I want to create 1 million new businesses over 10 years and train 10,000 business
Mhm.
developers. That's my dream or my vision. It's like uh, Martin Luther King said, I have a
Mm.
dream
Mm.
and then something. What is that that you would like to achieve in your life or contribute or change? It's
Wow.
lovely stories normally that can be shared by people, and I would love to hear their stories before I continue sharing
Okay.
my recipe of being triumphant.
All right. So let's do that. We'll start sharing. We'll have 10 minutes. Okay. So there'll be three groups. And I think the message, Luther, is to dream big and have big objectives. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Introduce, if not known, and then just a quick introduction, a few seconds, 30
Mm-hmm.
seconds, and then each one say use a minute or so just to share
Mm-hmm.
their big dream.
Okay. Did everyone share? Yeah.
I can
Okay.
share what happened in our group.
Hmm.
So it was like a puzzle, a complex thing. Everyone had a goal, and these goals are very important to make the planet a better place. So Rebecca wants to create a new education system to make a revolution in the education system, which is very important because we know that the education system that we have today, it was created by Rockefeller, and he said, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. Basically, he wants slaves. Mark wants healthy people, and then by this they will be more successful. Muhammad wants equality. He doesn't want this vast, disproportional level in life. He mentioned Pakistan and other countries, and he mentioned wars. And regarding my goal, I saw that we need to reclaim our power from those in power. They are very tiny people in power. We handed over them our power. We need to reclaim it and to awaken our intuition, which is like an we insist to stay human, not transhumans, by awakening our intuition and building communities. So this happened in our group.
I was in group 2. We had 3 themes. One was entrepreneurship, being passionate about entrepreneurship and changing the world and making it a better place and having economic development. The second group was all about being more humane, heartfelt, and less working with the mind, being controlled by reason and by the mind. And the third theme was retiring, planning retirement to have freedom of movement and freedom of choice. And I said, hopefully, my presentation will help sharing my recipe to achieve that.
And then there was a third group with Alfredo, Carl, Joanna, and Paula.
Yes.
Super.
At the beginning, not all of us had a goal, but at the end, we kind of ended up with one. But we ended up discussing that those goals shouldn't be aligned to having money in that sense, because if we are passionate enough with that goal, money will come around. It's like being in the flow. When you're in the flow and you are working on your purpose, which also we came to the conclusion that it never ends, and it will come around. But we might well have in the back of our mind the belief that if our goal is kind of working in health and social contribution, money will not come around. So we need to change that belief in that sense. And then the time ended.
There'll be more breakout.
It was funny because Joanna had the same goal that who was it who was talking about the education,
Rebecca.
changing the world in terms of education, which I agree with.
Yeah, I mean, you generally can't stop me talking about that. I do have a talk on it in about an hour's time, if anyone's interested.
Right.
Right.
So
Thank you.
But what's funny is that the four of us, as Luther was mentioning, we're talking about entrepreneurship. And we weren't talking about retiring.
I think many of us know the slide. You can see the Ikigai, the Japanese concept of meaning, a reason for being. And this was my first multi-level approach to know that we think the world is one-dimensional. We're in for surprise. I love the four-dimensional way which it portrays it. One is, what can I be paid for? What am I good at? What does the world need? And what do I love? To be able to live and have a reason for being, living your Ikigai, you must do all of these, not one of them. It's not first the one and then the other. Because what happens? If you start off by focusing on money, you feel comfortable. See the left bottom of the slide. But the feeling of emptiness, because you're not contributing. And then you start contributing more, you get excited. But you're a bit complacent. But you, in a sense, uncertain. And then you grow your profession and your passion, and you become highly satisfied. But the feeling of usefulnessless. It's strange. You achieve your career, the highest sport, you make X amount of money, but then you still do not feel fulfilled. Whereas on the other side, if you say, no, money is the root of all evil, I will just follow my vocation and my mission to give the world what it needs. You be full of delight and fullness, but no wealth. So that means it's two sides of the coin. And it's very important that you address both if you want to achieve your Ikigai. This formed the basis for the book I wrote, which I will shortly introduce hereafter. The book I wrote is Master the Triangle for Success. It has 6 chapters, and I've also developed an e-course of 6 modules. And all those that attend your networking session, I will gladly subscribe complimentary to the 6 e-course. They must just drop me a note that they would like to achieve it, and I'll send them on a weekly basis each chapter. And if they complete it, I will send them my book thereafter as well, which is a summary of the training. Today, I'm just going to deal with 3 topics. The introduction, just giving an overview, because each of the 6 chapters has got at least 5 sections. To do the 30 sections will not be feasible. We will have less than a few seconds per topic. So I'm just going to deal with 3. The introduction, determining who you are and what you want to be, very important. And last but not least, chapter 6, towards integration and balance. Just the introduction. If you've come to the realization that life is not a destination, it is a journey, a triumphant life has begun for you. Brian G. Dyson said, life is not a race, but a journey. Savor each step of the way. And then, of course, the old notion. We believe if we have, we will do. And if we do, we will be. But that we are pushing that cart before the horse. Before you have, you must do. And before you do, you must be. That's why most probably we are called human beings and not human havings or human doings. Very important that we focus on being, because we get so pulled into doing and achieving that we forget to be and to do. I think Buddha said, your work is to discover your work, and then with all your heart to give yourself to do it. That's why I spoke about the vision or your dream. What is why are you on earth for? And what is your contribution you have to make? Find that, enjoy doing that, and give your dedication to that. That is just some introduction to taken from the first chapter. The second chapter was all about, yes.
Yeah, I have a question.
You're welcome.
Thank you. What if the vision keeps changing? Like you have this big dream, and then depending on the environment, the news, world news, life in general, you change it. It keeps
Very
changing.
good question. You can say, for example, you are en route from Paris to London. There's a very specific journey that you have to undertake to get there. But if you keep on changing the destination, you won't know where you are, you won't know where you're going, and you won't know when you are there. Your route can change, but if you change your destination or your goal, your outcome, then maybe that wasn't the true outcome yet that is desired for you, because the journey can change, but the destination, that is your goal, not the journey.
Okay. Carl, please.
Safa, I like your question, because looking at this have, do, be, I would have thought that as long as the be stays the same, the have and do. But remember, the be it starts with the being, and then you do, and then you have. So if the be stays the same, then the have and do can get a bit more flexible, because remember, it starts with be. So if your journey is to travel, then it doesn't matter which one you choose. If your journey is to get to the UK, then it also doesn't matter that much which road you choose. So as long as the being is about traveling, then the rest will sort itself out. Anyway, that's my thought on. But I liked your question, because I think that is what happens: is we find new things, and the big question becomes: do I give up on what I'm doing and fail, or is changing direction just a better way of doing what the being always was? So it's a great question. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree, Carl. But Carl, I think what's important, it sounds simple, just changing the wording around. But if you study it, I would recommend that you just research it a bit. Because I thought it was confusing for me at first. Because we get stuck in a way of thinking if we put the have first, and instead of putting the being first. It's just a note. Do yourself a favor and explore it. It's quite interesting to explore.
I like to make a comment. As I understand it, the be is not rational, it's emotional. It needs to connect with your heart. and it is a destination, but in a way you never get there. You always move a step forward on a daily basis, and you contribute to your purpose on a daily basis, but you never get there. And that makes it more appealing, because you are contributing, you're either trying to fulfill your purpose, but you know that it will never end. That's what Paula and myself were talking about. So if it is rational, most probably we are not connected to the heart. And let's take the example of Luther. He's got a goal of 1 million, but in essence, the real goal is contributing, is adding value, is making and facilitating entrepreneurs to build their businesses. Because if his only goal would be 1 million, what would happen once he reached 1 million? No, he still have that behind, that emotion, that contribution. So it's kind of different when you have an emotional B.
Thank you. Well said, Alfredo. I think my last slide will integration and balance will speak to the topic in terms of the complexity, why most of us seem or feel out of balance. The second chapter is all about determine who you are and what you want to be. Extract from Theory and Practice of Counseling and Psychotherapy, Gerald Covey, after summarizing the importance of knowing yourself, humans are in a constant state of transition, emerging, as Carl mentioned, evolving and becoming. Being a person implies that we are discovering and making sense of existing. Which we pose questions such as, who am I? Where have I been? Who can I become? And I've found profiling helped me the best in terms of, I just want to share quickly 3 I found very valuable. Personal thinking preference. Harvard did a study on power thinking to say all successful leaders and managers were power thinkers, and they developed an assessment to give you a score that you can realize your level of thinking and what is the constraints in your thinking. Each one of these tests gave me another dimension of myself. The second one, in a similar vein, is your thinking preference. What is your thinking preference? Because your thinking preference indicates the way you communicate, the way you engage. It's like your profiling. Your power thinking gives you better ability to reason, insight, and self-knowledge, knowing the constraint can either be within or when you enter into relationships. That could be a constraint. And then you can apply that to improve your understanding and your being. And last but not least is Roger Hamilton's wealth profiling. Your personal path of least resistance to wealth. Each one of us, in his profiling, gives 8 profiles. Each one of us has got a focus on one, like an airplane, the body, and the 2 wings, the 2 accompanying profiles. But your body of your airplane, that is the essence where you find work is pleasure. That is your line of least resistance and which becoming.
All right. There is
Sorry?
a question from Lewis.
Okay.
Yeah, Luther, this is a bit strange for me. We're talking about being before you do and before you have. And you're also saying, well, who am I? If you actually come to terms with that and know who you are and you love who you are, why would you want to become someone else? That becomes a kind of manipulation for something. And when you actually achieved one of the ultimate goals that everybody's trying to find out, does that make sense? It's like
Yes,
you find out who you
100%.
are and how to be. So why on earth would you want to start changing that?
That's right. Now, you see, this, I think, just to take you back to what Corey said about this, humans are in a constant state of transition, emerging, evolving, and becoming. Being a person implies that we are discovering and making sense of existing. So this is not a kind of journey from here to there. It's a constant evolving, like as you grow in your consciousness, you grow and develop, you have a new insight of the world. And you have a different, you do not change from that to that, but it's a constant growth. And I will explain it a bit later how I integrated that for myself. Because we are giving you kind of a people view of a broader topic. So this does not do justice. But all I want to say is, in terms of knowing yourself, is a part of growing and becoming what you are meant to be. Thank you for your contribution, Lewis. Appreciate it. I see I've stimulated your mind to think and
Well,
to
yes, I
apply.
mean, part of who I am is something that is dynamically evolving. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's lovely. I think for the next breakout session, I identified for me the 3 things that you must master to be triumphant. Is the one, your ability to make money. Secondly, is what you do with that money, because it's a fallacy that money or your business makes you rich. Firstly, you must invest in yourself, because your capacity to hold and to grow is important, that you invest in yourself. And then at last but not least is investment. Investments make you rich, and investments gives you freedom of choice and movement, because you are not compelled to make money, because your money works for you and provides you with the necessities so you can focus on yourself and being and doing, having freedom to do what you want and when you want to do it and where you want to do it. The challenge to the group would be, is that 3 sufficient, or did I miss out something? And then when we come back, we can just share. So just think of making money, growing and investing in yourself, and doing investments so you can become financial independent. Is that 3 sufficient to cover most bases, or is there something else I missed? Maybe you can discuss it and share with us your view afterwards. Yes,
You're mute.
muted. The different groups can just share, because Safa she normally hands out work. I can hand out work. I'm the facilitator. She will share our group's contributions. And you want to start off,
Well, I
Safa?
want to let others speak. I don't want to speak like throughout this session. Someone else in another group, and I'll share about ours at the end.
Yeah, I'm happy to go through what we talked about. So we talked about money as a facilitator for good rather than a sole purpose. I feel like not many people here actually strive to be rich. We talked about the importance of integrity, about creating a legacy that doesn't necessarily have to, be embedded in who we are, but essentially just leaving the world in a nicer position than it is now and more deserving of the next generation. That's about it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Rebecca. Anyone else would like to share? Joanna?
Sure. We had a very interesting conversation, and we talked about the overall world structure, if I may say, specifically the financial system, as we are all depending on that, and our lives are being often just directed by what that looks like. I feel like it wasn't a flush conversation. We needed a lot more time, so I'm not sure how to summarize that. Maybe Hanan, you can jump in if you want. But overall, I think we talked about, to answer Luther's question, what am I missing? We were most of us in agreement that community is going to potentially be the way forward on a lot of things, and community needs to be thought about on how we are going to evolve.
Yeah, so if I can jump a little bit also, we were talking about the risk from being in this system that we can see that it's about to crash with the social credits, the surveillance, the ending of the cash system. And if you invest in, for example, in funds, or if you invest in property, if the system crashes, then what's next? So that's why we mentioned the community. It's the solution, because we slowly will need to exit this sick system. We are all in risk.
Okay, thank you. That's I'm not sure what to comment on that, but it's very deep, very, very deep. Somebody else. How about Mohammed? Let's hear from you.
Yeah, so it's great to have money, but what we were discussing was making money. It's not the sole like the only goal that we should have. We should have multiple goals, and the money is it's true that it's facilitator, but it's not the only thing to get happiness from. Like, my philosophy is, there are a lot of things in the life that we can get happiness from: family, friends, the money that we make, the creativity that we have, maybe the work that we do, or a hobby. Like, I love doing work at home, any kind of work or something. So people are making like feeling so good while driving, so things like these. So my idea was that the money is not the sole thing, but it's something, it's really important, and like, these things are there in our life to like facilitate us as well.
Thank you. I have a question for Mark, because Mark is the author of a book titled No Excuses. And a lot of us say money is not so important and this and that. So I'm wondering, Mark, is this like an excuse that we give ourselves not to make sufficient money? Or is it true that money is not the key to happiness and joy? Because as I understand, money can buy you time. So if you have time, you have a lot of other resources.
I think both are true. I think it is an excuse, but I also think that money does not buy us happiness. I've seen a lot of wealthy, miserable people, and I do believe both are true. I think that a lot of us have decided that we can't do something because of an excuse, so we don't try it, or we're not going for what we really want. But I also know that more money won't make you happy if you're naturally miserable. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the one thing I would say about the excuses, though, is every one of us, including me, is capable of doing more. But somewhere there's an excuse that stops us from doing it. Identify that excuse, eliminate it, and we'll do better, whether it's with our body, our health, our money, our income generation, or our relationships, especially in our personal relationships with our spouse and children.
And sometimes we're comfortable with our excuses. They leave us in a comfort zone, sort of like. But that's going to be your session that's coming up in the month of June. So you guys come back to attend Mark's session on no excuses. There is a question from Alfredo, then Anwar, and then back to you, Luther.
Yes, I will say that money not always an excuse, in the sense that there are a lot of poor people that surely are more happy than us in that sense. I also agree that we can always do more. And in that sense, if we are truly aware that we are giving our best in all of the realms of our life, then the result really does not matter, because you are giving your best consciously in that sense. And in our group, we talk about, in the sense that these are very important: investing, having money, trying to secure your retirement or future, in that sense. But also we talk about of acquiring knowledge, and we need to be careful, because acquiring knowledge for the sake of acquiring knowledge might well end having a lot of titles but being extremely unhappy. So in that sense, I myself introduced the concept that it's true. We need to invest in ourselves, acquire knowledge, but especially in terms of acquiring self-awareness. How do we change ourselves? How we really are, not in rational terms. So we kind of got to start discussing that.
Gotcha. Thank you, Alfredo. Anwar, please.
I just wanted to add that regarding money, passing threshold, I think money adds more complexity than it adds happiness to one's life. So this is just a personal reflection. I don't think it's a rule written anywhere.
Yeah,
but just
I think
this
there's
is
like
my
a
opinion.
data that says past 100,000, I think, a year, like the level
Yeah,
of happiness that's
average that,
already
yeah.
improved. Okay. Louis?
Marginal improvements.
Yeah. I mean, you go from like business class to first class to what, like a private jet. I mean, you still get to the same destination.
But yeah, you still get into a plane.
All right. Louis, please.
Yeah, it was something else we touched on in our group, was that there are also ethical concerns here. Very often when you're investing, you don't know exactly what you're investing in. And it can be something that isn't good for the planet. And someone always has to pay. Someone really pays. It's not like money just comes out of the sky that is given to you. I mean, for instance, I don't think Hanan would want to invest in Jared Kushner's Gaza development, but a lot of these things, when investments are structured, they're often across different types of investments and different, being invested in different ways, and you don't necessarily know. So, I mean, I think it really comes back to community and coming back to a kind of human scale of using money, rather than this kind of rather abstract idea of investment in whatever somebody advises.
What were the three wins, Louis? Win, win, win. Can you remind me of the concept? Like,
Sorry.
the win, win, win is in your course. It has to be a win for you, a win for humanity,
And a win for the planet.
for the planet. That's right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And a lot of these investments are definitely not a win for the planet. And that's what we depend on entirely.
Mm. Luther, there is a comment for you in the chat from Joanna. And Mark and then Hanan.
I find myself always kind of polarizing, but we kind of treat people with money who are evil worse than we treat people without money who do evil things to survive. I think you can be evil whether you have money or you don't have money. Here in the States, people get mugged or shot or held up for $50 and they steal our Amazon packages. They're just as evil as anybody else who does something wrong, whether it's to the planet or other people. And I think we hold people who are wealthy harsher than we hold people who are we define as in need. That's just a thought that I had as you were speaking.
Good point. Thank you, Mark. Hanan, please.
I just wanted to comment on what Louis just said, because I'm in Tirana in Albania now, and there are a lot of demonstrations because Jared Kushner and his wife are investing in the best and most isolated island in Albania, and people are protesting. So yeah, so we need to understand about those people in power and their investments.
Yeah.
And the planet, as Lois mentioned.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Hanan. Luther, back to you. Any comments on Joanna's comment?
It will be answered in the next slide.
Okay. Let's go.
You're going to share the discussions in our group, Safa?
Oh, sure. I mean, Felicia is all about health. So that's like the main pillar in her life. So everything has to go around health because that's the foundation for health, for not only health, but success and happiness. Mark is all about giving up the excuses, anything that can hinder his life. So he realized that, and then he actually has a lot of tips that he's going to share with us in the next session. As to myself, I talked about the freedom. Freedom for me has always been important, to be free. I mean, obviously, we're only free to a certain extent, but at least free to practice a job that I love or do things that I enjoy and let my creativity express itself. But I was very moved by what Anwar said, because he joined later in the breakout room. And Anwar's big mission, vision in life is to spread kindness in everyday life through a very small action. So I thought that was really beautiful. And thank you, Anwar, for that.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So Luther, now to you, please.
Thank you. Maybe this next or last slide will give perspective towards integration and balance. One of the things I battled with most in my life is having a balanced life. What is balance? That was quite complicated. And when I formulated this model, it came to grips that I can understand it and I can share it, and I would love to share it with the group. Your life and anchors and pillars is a wheel. For me, sake of not to make it complicated, is business, making money, the life and all its complexity, and investments. That is just a facet. Each one of us can say, what is the spokes in their wheel? You must have a wheel. But to have balance makes it easier to understand if you see the wheel and the road. The wheel, only a small portion of it gains traction on the road. What worked for me is the portion of the wheel that's on the road that needs focus. So that makes it easier. You only have to focus on one facet of your life. But If you do not have multiple facets, you do not have a wheel. This is your wheel of life, you and your plan for your life. Whatever it is, I portray it in the form of a wheel with multiple spokes. You can decide. I started off with 3. I realized I missed a 4th one. As you mature, health. Health is critical when you go above 40. Because I share with my son, if you go above 40, or you turn 40 today, and you wake up and you do not have a pain, you are dead. So that is one way of looking at it. But what gave balance to me is understanding I have a multifaceted life, but it's impossible to focus on everything at the same time. But they all must be in place. Say, for example, my business asks a lot of me. Then I will focus on the business, but I'll engage with my life and my relationship and with my family and share with them. I'll make up for that. But I have to do this now. Then it puts me in control of my life, of my plan. Because as soon as we feel out of control, as you said, then we start making excuses. I do not have this, I do not have that. But the basic rationale of my 3 spokes is you need to make money because the world turns with money. But what you do with that money, it's a fallacy that a business makes you rich. If you do it well, it makes you money. And what you do with that money is important. Firstly, to invest in yourself and your growth and your relationships. And then to invest in assets that can grow, because that can give you freedom of choice and movement at a later stage. Then you don't have to worry about making money. You can live your life and fulfill your purpose, whatever that might be. But whatever you change, and the spikes might change over time, it's important that you know what is important. What's the pillars that makes up your life? And know when it needs attention, it hits the road. Focus on that so your life and your tire can move forward. That is just a kind of a balance of the total integration that worked for me. I would love to hear comments, because this will be my final slide.
I actually have a question for everyone, if you may, Luther.
Yes.
Do we know anyone in our, like network environment / family community, someone who spends their day like earning a living and at the same time achieving their dreams and making an impact? I'm just wondering whether people who are solely concerned with earning income actually
You can never do it in isolation, because that's a wheel. You have to address all aspects of your life. Just the facet on the road must get focus, so you can get traction on the rest. Doesn't mean you don't do anything else. What you do is your wheel, your spokes. And you have to kind of each one, as the wheel moves forward, different aspects of your life needs attention and needs focus. But you must decide what is your wheel, what is the spokes, and know which facet of your life needs focus on for you to move forward, not to get stuck. Make sense?
It does, yes. To answer your question, Safa, I know a lot of people who are well connected into their purpose in life of adding value, as Luis says, fulfilling all those 3 in that sense. And one of the spikes represents a challenge. For example, for younger people, the challenge is, though they are connected to their purpose in life, is making money and then start making investments. But they are very fulfilled in terms of doing what they love. That's what Ikigai is all about, in that sense. Once you get to define your Ikigai, I'll say you are on the right path. And depends on the stages of you are in. You will be working either on your business or strengthening your purpose or working in investing. But I see a lot of that in younger people. And for example, I've told you this. My eldest son, he's a tattooist artist, and he just loves what he does. He's not making ends meet. He's doing well. He's not rich, but he's starting to think about investing, for example. So as Luther says, there are different stages in that sense.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Alfredo.
see there's 2 questions.
Yeah, please go ahead. Louis, Hanan.
I just wanted to comment, and if I got your question correctly, Safa, I don't know about the percentage of people who are trying to make this balance. However, what I observed is that the vast majority of the world population are struggling, and they are incapable to handle this thing, and they don't have the self-awareness. And many of them, if we, for example, go to Congo with the cobalt exploitation, the exploitation of people, I don't think that these people can, even if they are self-aware, they can't do much. They need our help. So yes, we have people who are managing this. It's maybe in our community, but the vast majority is really struggling, and we need to change. We need to make a change, and we need not to be a part of this exploitation system. This is very important.
Thank you, Hanan. Louis, please.
Yeah, I think Luther, I've got some very different spokes, but I haven't figured out what they are. I kind of would hate to think that my road to success was defined, or I was defined by my ability to eventually make investments so that I didn't have to work. All of the famous people, all of the very successful people that I've known have not been concerned about money at all. I'll give you one famous example, Stanley Kubrick, who I knew when he was alive. He wasn't the least bit interested in money. He never was. He was interested in his passions, his visions, his creativity, and all those things that brought so much to the world and resulted in wealth. And money was purely the tool that he needed to actually make that happen. But it was the ideas, the richness of his being that was the driving force behind everything that he did. And I know that because I knew him personally, and I could see that. But it was the same with people like Richard Branson, who I also knew a bit. And so many people. I mean, Steve Jobs, he was into Zen Buddhism and all sorts of things. It wasn't about the money, it was about the idea. So I feel I can relate more to that kind of thinking than I can to the idea that my ability to make money generates the possibilities. It's the creativity and the passion and so on and so forth that create everything else, for me anyway. Not that I'm saying you're wrong, and I know for a lot of people that is the way, but I find that a fear-based approach, and I wouldn't subscribe to it.
That's right. Can I just reflect on what you said, Louis? You're 100% correct.
Sure.
That's why I started off the Ikigai, the 2 halves of the coin. The one is, what is your contribution? The other one is, what is your profession, a vocation, and what you can do. What's important for each and every person? It's like for me, wealth means to have freedom of movement and freedom of choice. Whatever inhibits that makes me poor. Sometimes it's money, then I need to focus on getting money because it's inhibiting me fulfilling my freedom of life. Or is my contribution to the community insufficient because I do not have enough? Can I give you an example? There's a guy from Australia that has a gifting organization. Buy one, give one. Like, for example, you buy a coffee and they will donate the price of a coffee to a charity of their kind. And this guy put on industry blinds at the windows. And he said, okay, for each major contract he gets, he will connect a school in India to electricity because they are blind. They've got no electricity. They must study in the dark. And he was so excited about all the comments he got from the community, the teachers, the children, the parents. He said, okay, next year, I want to connect 10 schools. But then he realized he has to make much more money. He must have a much bigger business to do that. See, that's a different approach. He never thought of connecting 10 schools. He wanted to make more money. He wanted to help more schools. But, of course, he had to grow his business to make the money to afford that, to do that. That's why I say we must just clarify what is in your wheel that works for you and make sure your spokes is in order. Denying, or as Mark says, our excuses. We love making excuses, especially if we cannot do it. Or we're not good at that. Then we like to give it a bad name or something. All I'm saying is find your wheel, clarify that, and know that at times you need to focus to get traction.
Can I? Yes, absolutely, Luther. Sorry,
We have 3 minutes left.
Okay, just quickly. I know for a fact, for instance, that creativity is greater than that. Richard Branson didn't have any money to start Virgin Airlines. He had a creative idea. It was a very interesting story, but I won't take that up with you now. It wasn't about the money. It was purely the idea, and the money came later once he'd actually built the structure. That made it possible. He had no money to buy his first 747.
Fully agree. That's why
there are different types of entrepreneurs, like the creative entrepreneur, and there are other types of entrepreneurs who just buy and resell. But we can talk about that definitely in some other time. Alfredo and then Hanan.
Yes, I'd like to add that we tend to associate that people who struggles is unhappy, and that's not the way it is. There are a lot of people who are struggling and are happy because they live their purpose or whatever. Also, in terms of what Hannah was asking, Gallup just published a study that they do on a yearly basis about 2 months ago. 3/4 of the working population of the world is unhappy, and not because they are not getting enough money. It's mostly because they have not gotten a purpose in life. So there is not a direct relationship between struggling and being unhappy. Not at all, in that sense. So it is true. There is a lot of people who are struggling. Like Anwar published, 2 billion having got access to clean water. But because of that, it does not mean they are unhappy. Happiness is a relative term. Also, wealth is a relative term.
Okay, thank you, Alfredo. Last thought from Hanan, and then Luther, you wrap up the session because we're coming to an end. Yeah.
Luther, I want to thank you so much for this topic because it allowed us to explore within and together. So thank you so much. And I also wanted to say that freedom was mentioned here multiple times by Safa, by you, Luther. And I would like to say, because you mentioned moving, traveling. And for me, for example, freedom, I choose not to travel to some countries, although I would love to travel into there, because I want to keep my freedom of speech. And if I speak what I want to say, I wouldn't be able to go there, or it will be dangerous for me to go there. So this is what came into my mind, that freedom might mean different things to different people.
Thank you. Thank you very much. To close off, I'm glad the topics I raised really evoked good discussion. That was the idea. I don't say I've got the Holy Grail in my book. I don't say I've got it right. But I've researched and through a life gathered what made sense to me, and I'm sharing it with you. So all that are interested, they can gladly have my training free of charge. 6 modules. I don't want to give it to you if you're not interested in it. You just need to either let Safa know or drop me a line and say you would like, and every week I'll send you one module with 5 to 6 chapters. Review that, see what works for you. What works for you, take it on. What does not work for you, ignore it. That is just my advice to those that attended. And I feel honored to be part of this group. And thank you, Safa, for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Luther. Thank you for your insights. And did you share the links to the assessment and everything else? You guys can see.
I've given my LinkedIn. If they linked with me on
Okay.
LinkedIn, they can just find my email there, or they can just drop a message there, or they can just drop you a note and you can just send me who, and I will start the first journey next week.
All right.
Sorry, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And weekly thereafter.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, Louis, was that your hand up? No. Okay. Thank you everyone for sticking till the end. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same link. Bye.